All right, I hope this is a bit better. Please let me know how the video quality is. I'm trying to find a compromise here between, my streaming and my recording. I was using a different app to do my screen recording and my streaming, and it turns out that that's not really going to work out too well when I start scoring the animated short for tomorrow. So I'm trying to find the best compromise here. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to work. All right. So I made a little change to the sends on my reverb. I had it sending pre-fader, post-pan, and post-fader, but I wanted to send it pre-fader. Okay, I think the mix is pretty much where I want it. I just opened up my my insert plugin here, so I'm sending the whole thing to my outboard compressor, the Portico MPB. And again, I don't want to have an overly processed sound. I want it to sound really natural. So I find that for doing this kind of music, for when it comes time to do dynamics processing, less is more. So I'm just gonna, and you can't see what I'm doing down here, we're just gonna have to use our ears. Usually just a little bit of compression is good for this. I don't want it to, I want it to sound live and not too processed. So usually what I do is I start in the loudest part, which is here, the kind of climax, and start dialing in compression and limiting, and then I go back and listen to the whole thing and check it. So let's start with that. So as I'm dialing in the compression, you're probably going to hear the dynamics change quite a bit. It's going to be loud and then soft. Then I'll bring everything up. All right, so I'm gonna just check out the goniometer here. Get to see how much compression I'm actually doing. If it sort of makes the shape of a diamond in here, then it's going to be a little bit too squashed. It doesn't sound too squashed. It should be okay. Again, I don't want this to be super squashed. I want to have a nice dynamic range. I think right now it's okay. The settings I have here on the outboard compressor are pretty gentle. I haven't really brought up much makeup gain yet. This Neve compressor has a really cool circuit. It's called the silk circuit, and it can add a little texture to it and kind of change the overall, I don't know what you call it. I mean, they call it texture. To me, there's like blue silk makes it sound a little warmer, and red silk makes it sound a little bit brighter and edgier. So I don't know, I just kind of futz around with it and see what sounds good. So I'm going to start bringing that in too in just a second. I just want to check my goniometer and see how my gonios are doing. Yeah, so I got this kind of nice fluffy fuzz ball here, which is kind of where I want it. I've got more headroom. I still have to bring up the levels overall. I don't think I'm going to touch the stereo field editor on the outboard one. I kind of like what I've got going here with my BrainWorks Modus equalizer. It sounds pretty wide, and I like it. So I'm not going to mess with the outboard stereo field there. But I am going to start changing the silk texture circuit on this. Just kind of toggle through and see what I like. Sometimes it's nice to have it a little brighter. Sometimes it's nice to have it a little warmer. After I get that set, then I'm going to be listening back and forth on my two pairs of monitors. So I've got my mains, which are Focal's Solo 6s, and then I've got mix cubes here. So I try to find kind of a happy medium between the two, right? Because most people are not going to be listening to this in a studio. Anyway, so I like the attack and release. Actually, before I start futzing around with that stuff, let me take a listen through the whole track and see if any issues with compression show up. I don't think there will be. I don't think there will be. It's pretty gentle, and I still got headroom, kinda. Got. All right, maybe it's coming up too much. We'll check that. The outboard compressor, the Neve there, has a limiter circuit on it too. Actually, don't really like it that much. I find usually just using the software limiter gets me better results with this kind of music. Anyway, let's listen through, see if there are any issues with compression. I don't think there are. All right, so I can hear one thing going on that you might not be able to hear if you're listening on a phone or a computer. This low thumping, rumbling, deep drum here is actually triggering the compressor and I think I need to cut that. So there's a switch here that I can tell the compressor not to activate when low frequencies like that are coming in. Let me just find it. There it is. All right, I think that's going to help. Yeah, good. We're getting there. So again, gentle compression. The only thing I did, I dialed back a little bit of the compressed output, and I dialed in just a touch more of the unaffected mix, right? So it makes it feel a little less processed. Again, I don't want it to sound too processed. And I tell you one thing I'm really pleased with. This turned out pretty good in this track. Not that. Not that. So I did a pretty... I know what I'm doing. There. So I made the stereo spread here pretty wide, and I'm not having any problems with correlation. That's really good. It sounds really, from on this side in my chair, it sounds really nice and wide and live, and we're not having any problems. We're not having any problems with phasing. That's good. And this here, you know, this fluffy ball in my goniometer, that's great. I got plenty of room to do to bring up the levels, not make it sound squashed. I don't think I'm going to need to pull out the nuclear option of using the Oxford inflator. So usually that means that you've done your mix right, or at least you set your levels and your panning and stuff. You gave yourself plenty of headroom. So that's all right. I'm happy with that. So I'm gonna start toggling the silk circuit on my Neve. Sometimes I go with red, sometimes I go with blue. Blue is a little warmer, red is a little bit brighter. Red can have a little bit of edge to it. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad. I think this track could use a little bit more of an edge. It's kind of a warm sound right now. So maybe dialing in a little bit of the silk red will help. I try to add a little bit of excitement there with the with this saturation. That saturator, this oxide tape is not like a really bright sounding one, at least to my ears. I mean, this stuff is very subjective. Anyway, so let's dial in a little bit of silk. So I'll be toggling through the different silk circuits, and then I'm going to dial in how much I want. So I'm going to start with it on max. So I'm going to start with red on all the way, and I'm going to switch through, toggle it on and off, go through red and blue, and then I'll dial it in where it sounds good to me. Right, so as I thought, I was going with the silk red. It's pretty hot. I think I'm going to bring it back 1 or 2 notches, but I'm going to sort of set the final levels here. All right. Don't need to use my inflator. I don't think I need multi-band compression. This is good. Simple. There's one other switch here that's kind of interesting with this Neve thing. It has a feed forward and a feed backward, so the compressor will look at the program material at a different spot in the chain. I guess it will look at it. Let's see if I even understand. I guess there's sort of an old-fashioned way of the way the compressor will look at the audio. It looks at it before a certain spot in the whole circuit chain, and after a certain spot. And it seems like if it's on feed forward, which it is right now, it's I think a little more punchy, and then if it's on feed back, it's a little more smooth. I'm just going to toggle that, see where it reset that. All right, so on my mains, it sounds pretty good. It's a little rumbly. It's a little bit rumbly. I think I got the dynamics at least dialed in on that. I'm gonna go, and you're not gonna hear this. I'm gonna be switching back and forth between my main monitors and my auxiliary monitors. And usually the mix cubes there kind of show any problems in the mid-range stuff, and I think we might have a few. Let's listen here. Sounded pretty good. I want to just go through and check the very low end of things. This Brainworks EQ, that's not it. This Brainworks thing has this really cool feature. It's called a mono maker, and it allows you to put very low frequencies right in the center and makes it mono just for those frequencies. And it's sounding to me a bit like some of the low frequencies are bleeding over into the side channels. So I'm going to just check that, and I think I'm going to futz around a little bit with this gain scale. So that's going to do a global change to the EQ I put on my mono and stereo channels. I think that might be the final touch here. Let's go. Right. I can see things are getting a little squashed out. You know, it sounded nice and full over on this end. I think I want to just back it off a touch just to really make sure that, you know, there's a really good dynamic range. I'm not sure where to do that. I think I'm going to do it here on the, well, I'll see. Just going to jump in right at the end. Yeah. So really the challenge, the most of the work in this track was not in the mastering, it was more in the mix. If this were a trailer track or a pop track, really, know, I think, levels are always important, but I think what really got this one going well was setting the levels and stuff, going through all that rigmarole. There was one, I think one of my stems gets cut off at the end. It sounded like a percussion thing. Let me see if I can just tweak that. It sounds like it's some kind of percussion instrument ringing out, and then the sample got cut off. Let me see if I can find that. One of my MIDI events must have been cut short before the whole sample rang out. Let me see if I can edit this. Geez, I think it's done. I think it's done. So I have to do a real time. I don't have a title for this track. Anyway, I have to do a real-time bounce because I'm using outboard gear. I think I'll do that offline. And then it's going to be on to the next thing. And again, I'm really excited. I was talking to someone on Facebook, and they suggested that I check out a site called QTube. They've got videos there that have, they seem like they're pretty well made, and they've got, dialogue and sound effects, but no score. So it's an opportunity for composers to do practice scoring on some well-made videos. So there was a really cool one I found there called Spring. Apparently it was a competition piece. I missed the deadline. Deadline was months ago. In any case, I'm going to score that. So I'm going to go ahead and bounce this, and I think I'm going to go offline and start setting up my instrument palette for that animation. I'll put this one on my SoundCloud and my website. Links to that stuff they should be in my Twitch page and on my YouTube page. And I don't think I'm going to stream me setting up my instrument palette. I don't think that's very interesting. Once I get that set up, I'll talk through that and share that with you, and I'll start scoring that video tomorrow. I'm very, very excited to be doing that. It looks great. I think that's going to be a good challenge. So that's it. Thanks for watching. This is my first track on this format, and I think it's only going to get better. All right. I'm going to bounce this out, sign off, and I'll post this on YouTube. And I think I'm going to do my summary video too, so I have to make that. I think it'll just be can't be more than 10 minutes. We'll just do a real brief summary of all the steps that I did to get this. So again, thanks for watching. That's going to be it for now. Short stream. I'm going to bounce this out and post some links soon, and then I'll be back on tomorrow at 1:30 Pacific to start a new track, animated short video called Spring that I found on QTube. So I'm excited. I hope to see you there. Be back tomorrow at 1:30 Pacific.